The man who trapped people in their dreams. The town that feared sleep. Imagine falling asleep, only to find yourself locked inside a nightmare that never ends. This is the story of a small, forgotten town where sleep became a curse. In a remote village surrounded by dense forests, people began disappearing without a trace. They went to bed as usual but were never seen again. Whispers grew about a man known as Victor Greaves, a recluse who had vanished decades ago. Some said he had returned, not to walk among the living but to haunt their dreams. His name was spoken in hushed tones, as if uttering it might summon him. Even the children knew the warnings. Do not fall asleep alone. Yet no one could escape the pull of slumber forever. What if every time you close your eyes, you risked losing yourself forever? Emily Carter, an investigative journalist with a reputation for uncovering strange mysteries, arrived in the town of Hollow Creek on a bleak autumn morning. The air was heavy with mist, and the streets were deserted except for a stray dog sniffing at trash cans. She parked her car in front of the only diner, its flickering neon sign struggling to illuminate the gloom. Inside, the smell of stale coffee and fear greeted her. Emily sat at the counter, her notebook ready. "What's going on here?" she asked the waitress, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes. The room fell silent. Patrons hunched over their meals, avoiding her gaze. After a tense pause, an elderly man sitting near the window spoke. "You're not from around here, are you?" he said, his voice trembling. "If you value your life, leave before nightfall." When Emily pressed for answers, the man reluctantly mentioned the Greaves house on the outskirts of town. "That place is cursed," he said, his face pale. "And so is anyone who goes near it. What secrets could one name hold to terrify an entire town?" Later that day, Emily visited Martha, a young woman whose brother, Daniel, had vanished a week earlier. Martha's home was dimly lit, with curtains drawn tightly shut. She spoke in hushed tones, as though afraid of being overheard. "Daniel told me about his dreams," Martha said, wringing her hands. "He kept seeing the same man, a tall figure in a black hat, just standing there. Watching, Emily noticed a sketch lying on the coffee table. It was crude but haunting, a shadowy figure with hollow eyes and a sinister grin. "Did he draw this?" Emily asked. Martha nodded, her voice barely audible. "The night he disappeared, he said the man spoke to him, invited him to stay." That evening, as Emily reviewed her notes in the motel, she felt an unshakable drowsiness overcome her. Her pen slipped from her hand, and her head hit the pillow. Just before sleep claimed her, she heard a faint whisper. "Come find me." What if the hunter becomes the hunted, even in her dreams? Emily woke, or thought she did, inside the Greaves house. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. Shadows danced across the floor, moving as though alive. She turned a corner and saw him, the man from the sketches, standing at the end of the hallway. "You shouldn't have come," he said, his voice low and cold. Before Emily could react, the floor beneath her crumbled and she fell into a void. When she landed, she was no longer in the house but in a twisted version of the town. The sky was an unnatural shade of red, and the streets were filled with silent, faceless figures. Emily called out, but her voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence. The man appeared again, his figure towering over her. "You're in my world now," he said, his smile widening. "And there's no way out. What if stepping into a nightmare means you can't step back out?" As Emily wandered the nightmare landscape, she began piecing together the truth. Victor Greaves wasn't just a recluse. He had been an obsessive scientist, experimenting with dreams and the boundaries of consciousness. His work had backfired, trapping him in his dream realm and transforming him into its master. Victor appeared again, his gaunt face illuminated by an eerie glow. "I once sought to control my dreams," he said. "Now I control everyone else's." Emily demanded to know how to stop him. Victor laughed. "Stop me? You can only replace me. To free the others, you'd have to take my place." Are you willing to make that sacrifice? How do you outwit someone who controls your reality? Refusing to give in, Emily discovered that she could manipulate the dreamscape, just as Victor could. She found others trapped in a nightmare, pale, frightened souls who had lost hope. Together, they formed a plan to overthrow Victor. The group faced harrowing challenges, a labyrinth of shifting walls, illusions of their worst fears, and Victor's relentless pursuit. Emily led them with unwavering determination, using her newfound ability to bend the dream realm to her will. In the final confrontation, Emily tricked Victor into stepping into a trap, a mirror that reflected his darkest fears. As he screamed in agony, the dreamscape began to collapse. Can victory in a dream guarantee safety in the real world? Emily woke up in the Greaves house, her body trembling and drenched in sweat. Around her were the other victims, now free but disoriented. They thanked her before stumbling back to their lives, forever changed. As Emily packed her belongings, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. A small black hat resting on the edge of her bed. She stared at it, her heart pounding, before shoving it into her bag and driving away. But as she left Hollow Creek, she couldn't shake the feeling that she hadn't truly escaped. Victor's voice echoed faintly in her mind. See you soon. Sometimes, the end of one nightmare is just the beginning of another.